come on in here so we can talk about Jackie and Marshall and also Jackie and Josh from Love is Blind Season 4. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Keandra Jackson here, licensed marriage and family therapist. Now, if you've been around, you know how these review videos go. But if you're new here, hey, let me go ahead and give you all the normal disclaimers. Disclaimer number 1, because we got 2 today. Listen, if you have not watched Love is Blind, baby, this video is going to have all the spoiler alerts in here. So go ahead and press pause. Go binge watch Love is Blind Season 4. Spin the block, come back, and then watch this review video. Disclaimer number 2. As a real licensed marriage and family therapist, like I'm a licensed therapist in real life, I'm not going to drag these people like y'all want me to drag the people. Now, I'm going to give y'all my authentic review. I'm going to give y'all the real deal Holyfield. I'm going to say what's on my mind. But these are real people with real lives, with real emotions. And I like to think of it as if any of them watched this video, would they feel like I was mean and disrespectful and part of the problem? I don't want that type of energy on my hands. So I'm going to give it to y'all from a licensed therapist perspective, but I am not going to be mean and cruel like some of y'all other people who's been reviewing these videos and dragging these people. So let's get into it because I'm going to break these down from the pod. We're going to talk about the Mexico, which I like to call a little honeymoon stage. We're going to talk about the apartment and real life situation. We're going to even talk a little bit about the wedding, but we're also going to talk about the reunion. I was going to do a separate video specifically about the reunion, but I just felt like it didn't give what it needed to give, if you know what I mean. So I am going to talk about the reunion in each of the review videos that I'm doing for all the couples. Be reminded that I got Tiffany and Brett. We got Micah and Paul. We got Irina, Bliss, and Zack. And of course, we got Chelsea and Kwame. So I did review videos on all of them. Let's talk about Jackie and Marshall first in the aspect from the pod. I genuinely believe they had a connection in the pods, y'all. I felt like Jackie was so sweet. She was nice. She was thoughtful. She was even a tad bit vulnerable in the pods. And I genuinely felt that she had a vibe for Marshall. She was into him. She was rocking with him hardcore. It was evident by their conversations and the way that they engaged through that wall. Now, Marshall, the personality that I get from him, because clearly I don't know him personally, but the vibe that I get from him is that he's just mad chill. He's not aggressive. He is not doing team too much like all of the other people. He doesn't like confrontation. He just seems like a really nice, cool, good guy. And I think y'all are trying to drag him and make him feel like he is a wimp. He too soft. He a little B-word. Like he needs to grow up and get some balls. Like, I don't want y'all to have that perception of Marshall, even though we're going to talk about some things that I feel like he didn't do right either in this situation. But I don't think that he is the bad guy that you guys are painting him out to be. He's just different. You have to remember that masculinity and femininity is on a continuum. This video ain't even about that, but baby, there's so much in between here. And so everybody is not like, nuck if you buck, I'ma kill you, I'm thug life, I'm There's just some men that are not like that, but that doesn't make them any less quote unquote masculine or less of a man. It just means that they vibe out differently, and that's okay. But one of the things that I can say about Marshall when they were in the pods that I can applaud him for, go Marshall, was that he fought for Jackie. Okay, and that is one of the most assertive, not aggressive, because we don't do aggression, assertive, most attractive things that a guy can do for a man. Say, hey, yo, I know that you dating Josh too, but I want you. You leaving here with me, and I'm not taking no for an answer. I thought that that was so dope for him to do. And so for people to feel like, you know, he's just a little wimp, he's a little B-word, and, you know, all of those things, I don't think he's that way at all, because he showed us that he is about that life. He showed us that when he's interested in a woman, he can pursue. He showed us that he is assertive. And that is something that we want to acknowledge. And to be honest with you, it seemed like Josh was the one that cowered and backed down when Marshall was like, no, I'm going for her. This is mine. She not leaving here without me. Josh was the one that was like, all right, cool. Well, you know, he backed down a little bit. But if Josh really wanted Jackie, he should have had as much assertiveness as Marshall had and was like, no, she going home with me. I know it would have been a headbutt and a clash, but if you really want somebody and you really love them, you're going to do what it do because you don't want to lose them. So I think if anybody is a B word, it might be Josh. Oh, I said it. Oops. Anyways, moving on. So let's talk about the meet when Marshall and Jackie actually saw each other for the first time. I firmly believe there was chemistry. I believe that they were both physically attracted to one another. I believe that they were playful and cheerful and glad, and they even shared a little kissy kiss. Like, they were attracted to one another. And I know that Jackie said that Marshall isn't the typical guy that she would date as far as like looks wise, but I do think that they were attracted to one another. And one of the key things about this whole experience is love blind, and are you going to be able to love someone without ever seeing them? And I believe that it's possible. And I believe that they did love each other, even without laying eyes on one another before saying I do. So let's get into Mexico, y'all. At this point, they already got engaged, saw each other. Now they are going to test out the waters to their I call it the little honeymoon because that's really what it is. It's like a little honeymoon situation. So let's talk about the little Mexico honeymoon. I believe that they had so much fun. They were adventurous. They went out into the city, went to go eat and was driving around and having fun and kikiing. I think that it went really well as far as them getting to know each other on this honeymoon. And so it went left though, real quick. 0 to 100 real quick. It went from 0 to 100 real quick because all of the feelings, the emotions, the real life, it starts to set in. And I think Jackie was experiencing that very thing. Jackie's trauma started to show out on the Mexico trip. I started to see things a little red flaggish for her, concern about her family, right? And always talking about, well, I'm the breadwinner for my family, or, I have to take care of them. And even though we haven't heard, what that really entailed for her and what that meant for her, I do believe that she has a lot of responsibility on her shoulders and on her back to either take care of her family or be there for her family. I don't know if that's financially, physically, whatever the case may be, but it seemed like she was extremely worried about that. And she was also extremely worried about what her family would say about this. Now, I think at some point, even before going on to the show, you should have told your family, at least your mama, at least one person, and say, hey, mama, I'm going on the show. I'm going to see if I can find true love. If I come back with a boo, I'm just letting you know what it is already. But if I come back single, then we know, the experiment didn't work for me. And so for her to be so pressed and for her to be so concerned about what her family was going to say, it really showed me that she didn't communicate with them anything about the show. And I know that there's some privacy and some secrecy around the show. I mean, I have been an expert on reality TV show before, so I know the behind the scenes and how it works, which is why these review shows and these review videos that I do for you guys is a little bit different from other people that you view. One, I'm a licensed therapist, so I know what I'm talking about for real. And then number two, I have been on television and shows like this. And so it really just allows me to give you guys a vantage point that you don't get a chance to see just as a viewer at home. But in all honesty, I feel like there was nervousness and anxiety and fearfulness about her telling her family about the engagement, which kind of just raised some red flags. It's like, girl, do you really want to be married or not? Because there were some things that I felt like you should have totally worked through and out all of this stuff prior to coming on this show, because you knew there was a high chance. You knew that there was a high chance and a probability that you could find somebody that you loved and wanted to be with literally forever. So to not have that conversation is wild to me. One thing that I noticed about Jackie very early on was that sis was the queen of self-sabotage, okay? Like, she was the queen of not managing her emotions, not being able to speak and state the things that were going on in her heart, in her mind, in her body. I think she made attempts. I want to be fair in that aspect, but I do believe that she held things in. I do believe that instead of her expressing to Marshall what was going on internally for her, she kind of just like went into the bathroom and just cried all the time. And then when he tried to console her, there was a wall There was a barrier. There was a blockage. It was like, girl, if you don't let this man love on you, if you don't let him be emotionally available and present for you, if you don't let him hug you and kiss you and support you during your times where your emotions were turned up, it's a beautiful quality to have in a mate and someone that you love and enjoy. And so the fact that you're pushing him away when he's trying to be present for you was weird. So there were a number of breakdowns from her. There were also a number of different times where I just noticed where she just wouldn't let him in. She wouldn't let him and allow him to love her. And I think that that was a trippy thing because it felt like at times that she didn't really like him. It felt like, you know, when you love somebody, but it's like, do you like them? Do you enjoy being around them? Do you like who they are as a person? And I got the feeling that that was kind of a no for her on a number of different occasions. I knew that she wasn't fully all in and there was an open door for her to go and be with somebody else or talk to somebody else when they were all in Mexico around the pool. They were all drunk as hell, okay? But when she saw Brett, when she put them glasses and said, "Ooh, look at Brett," right in front of Marshall, I said, "Oh, you just gonna act like Marshall is just not there? Girl, you wow for talking crazy like this in front of your fiance about a whole nother man. Like, this is crazy." So that was like a little gate opener, a little open door for me that showed me that she was open to looking at other men, potentially being with other men. And there's nothing wrong with you finding someone else physically attractive when you're in a relationship. That's normal. But what you do with that, information in that person's presence, in your partner's presence, and how you respond is a whole different ballgame. Let's talk about the apartment life and the real living situation. Because, you know, those little apartments that they were in wasn't really their apartments. It was just apartments that they were placed in temporarily just to see what they would look like with living together, being together in each other's space with their normal quote unquote routine. And Marshall appeared that he had overall pretty good communication skills and that he was emotionally available. But there were some moments where I was like, whoa, hold on, Marshall. Hold on, dog. Like, you need to pump your brakes on this. There was clearly a time frame where him and Jackie had a little dispute, a little beef, a little situation, and he left. He said, "Deuces, I'm going to my own real house for a few days. I'll see you later." So when he wound up coming back, it appeared that they didn't resolve any issues, even when there were attempts made and they just couldn't get on the same page. But when Marshall told Jackie, "I saw you as a project, but I saw potential." This man said, "I saw you as a project, but I saw potential." Ooh, that was the moment. That was the moment where I was like, oh, Marshall, you can't come back from this. I would have been upset too if I was Jackie. I'm not gonna lie. For someone to tell me, "Oh, I see you have potential, but you know, you broke in and I thought that you would be better." No, absolutely not. And so I believe that probably amongst other things that we didn't see on camera that happened behind the scenes was the complete downfall. And there was like literally the point of no return at that point, because that's just not something you tell somebody that you love and that you care about, especially if they have a history of negative relationships, or I think she mentioned she never really been in a real relationship to begin with, period. So to put that and plant that in somebody's heart and mind, I think that was just a very bad choice of words, and he owed that girl an apology for sure for that. Now let's skip along to when Chelsea's birthday situation came along and all of the cast members came together to kiki, and once again they was all drunk. But the person who was drunk the most was insert Josh. Yes, Josh was drunk. He was absolutely messy. He was doing the most. And he knew that he was doing the most because he stated on the reunion, like, "Yeah, I should have eased up on the alcohol." And we all knew it. But I don't fault Josh for coming into the situation. He came in randomly, by the way. But also, I don't fault him for trying to tell Jackie how he felt. We have to remember that they also had a genuine connection in the pods. Remember, it was literally at the last minute, Marshall or Josh, right? And Jackie had a whole crying fit coming back to the girls' little girl cave and crying over that situation. And so that they had a connection in the pods too. So I'm sure when Jackie saw him or heard his voice, she was like, oh, I forgot that I low key, high key, medium key had feelings for Josh. And the fact that he addressed her and said some things that were kind of out of pocket, especially as talking to someone who's engaged. I think there was a way to express himself and say, this is how I feel, and kind of just let it be. But he was like pressing. He was like, well, you just need to be with me. You need to leave him. You need to whoop. It's like, whoa, chill. That alcohol is loud right now. It's really loud. And so I knew by her response and her body language in that moment that she was open to talking and exploring something with Josh. I could just tell by the way she didn't shut it down. A real woman who's not interested in a man and is currently engaged, she's not even gonna entertain the foolery. She's gonna shut it down, right? But she was open and sitting there and kikiing. I said, oh yeah, she liked him. Yeah. At this point, she liked him more than Marshall. And this is when it got messy for me. It got messy when Jackie was supposed to be at her bridal dress fitting, and she didn't show up. Marshall was over there getting fitted for his tux, living his best life, talking to his friends, telling his friends that she's the one. We had a little argument, but we getting back on track. And if it wasn't for Brett pulling Marshall to the side and saying, hey, yo, Tiffany just texted me and said, Jackie's not here to get fitted for her dress, I think he would have just thought everything was good. But unfortunately, it wasn't Marshall. But I'm glad that Brett did that because it really opened Marshall's eyes. Because when he came back home after that, like, boo, where you been today? She had to come clean and say, instead of me going to get fitted for my dress, I actually went to lunch with Josh. She spilled the beans by saying she's physically attracted to Josh and all of those things. And we all know that she kissed that man too. So you up here kissing Josh while you engage to Marshall? Wow. Neither one of y'all had respect enough for each other. Josh didn't say, oh, hold on, you technically are, I want to pursue you, but you are still engaged. And Jackie didn't have enough respect for Marshall to say, oh, no, let me pull back. She tapped into that little kiss. I said, oh, this confirms my suspicions. I was right. So let's talk about the reunion. Okay, I am not happy and okay with the fact that Josh and Jackie didn't show up in person. Everybody else showed up in person. Everybody else had their awkward moment. Marshall was there by himself. Irina even came on. Micah was sitting there. Paul was sitting there. All of these people who also had awkward experiences, difficult situations, showed up to be present, to tell their story. And y'all had to do it on Zoom? What? Y'all could have came to the studio and recorded like everybody else did. And the fact that the producers and Nick and Vanessa didn't make them do that was a problem. I feel like they need to sign in their contract, y'all gonna be at the reunion show, because we have to remember that the moment that the story ends, as far as them getting married or not, to the reunion show is over a year. This isn't a week later after the wedding, after they say that they did or they didn't. This isn't a month later. This is a whole year. So to have the show air within a year time frame, to watch all of the episodes, see what went down, and then have to remember a year ago what went down, it's a lot. And I'm sure it's a lot for everybody involved. And so I commend all of the participants, all of the staff, all of the cast, because they held down their own. I know that hindsight is 2020. So looking back, I'm sure all of them would have chosen to do things differently. But the fact that Jackie and Josh, Double J, JJ, is now in a relationship. She said that they currently live together. They have like a dog or something of that nature. But the way that I felt that they dragged Marshall, and Nick and Vanessa didn't even try to jump in. I just felt like they were stating things that could have been true, because there's a lot of footage and things that we don't get a chance to see that happens behind the scenes on these shows. But to drag him and say, well, he wanted the ring back because he was going to propose to somebody else, and this happened and that happened. And it's just like, girl, why do you have to bring up all of that? Why? And also, why would you want to keep the ring? Even if that was his reason, why would you want to hold on to something that represented a time frame that you don't even want? a man that you don't even want. Like, if I was Josh, I would be like, girl, get that man back his ring so I can give you another one. Like, let it go, sis. And so that was a huge problem that I had. Like, if you're going to be on the show, be on the show. If you're going to pull up and try to share your story and drag somebody, do it in person, do it to my face, say it to my face, right? And so I know that there was probably a lot of tension that could have happened on set, but that's what makes a good reunion show. I think having Jackie and Josh, the double J's, show up in person would have made the reunion show so much more vibrant, so much more exciting, so much more interesting, because it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. There, I said it. Nevertheless, that is my breakdown of Jackie and Marshall and Jackie and Josh. I'm so excited that you watched this whole entire review video. Again, make sure you get a chance to watch what I have to say about all of the other couples. And I just need for you to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because I got more juiciness coming for you. Bye.